to be confused. We do not know whether its value is dependent upon money as gold locked underground in Fort Knox, Kentucky, or whether it is dependent upon the stock market. That too seems to affect money. And we worry when other nations devaluate their currency for fear that it will affect our own country's money. So, I think it would be a good idea if we discussed money and cleared our thoughts regarding it. The last 100 years have brought about what is called a scientific age. This scientific age has given us a great deal, but the average person considers it merely in terms of its but the average person considers it merely in terms of his own increased personal comfort. The sincere student of science discovers that back of this increased comfort, there should also be an increased understanding of the world and of the universe of which this planet is only a small part. One of the things which our friends in the scientific field have done is to make us realize that the universe is a fluidic creation. It is an eternally flexible creation. It is always in a state of flux. It never stops or stands still for an instant. It is energy forever expanding itself. It is intelligence forever finding new outlets for its own creative action. As we view this universe of infinity, eternity, and activity, and consider our planet in relationship to this great cosmic order, we behold a universal field of right action. We might say that the first necessity for understanding the world in which we live is to understand it on the premise that it is an activity. It is never static. See yourself in a fluidic universe, a flexible universe, a universe that is forever in process of change, yet at the same time forever dominated and guided by a basic intelligence, which is forever producing new forms, new creations, new experiences, all of which, when seen rightly, are good. If you can realize that, then you will deal with your universe as a flowing thing. Then you will deal with your prosperity as a flowing thing. You will immediately realize that the average person has stopped his own prosperity because he has concluded that prosperity is money in the bank, or prosperity is money in investments, instead of seeing prosperity as a flowing thing, an inlet and an outlet of activity. There is a universal pulse beat. This great flowing, pulsating universe has its own measurements of stars and atoms, its own pulse beat. You as an individual, speaking of you noun physically, have your own pulse beat, which denotes to the nurse or the doctor the tempo of your circulatory system. But remember that it is a circulatory system. It is an eternal movement taking place in you. In a well person, the circulation is in balance, always in right relationship. When your pulse is taken, no matter whether it is fast, slow, or average, it is an indication of the tempo of your circulation. Likewise, there is a barometer, if we wish to call it that, for our national pulse beat in economics. Many people pick up their morning or evening newspaper, and the first thing they read is the stock market page, the barometer of the pulse beat of the financial day as it has been recorded. If the market goes down, they moan. If it goes up, they rejoice. They have become dependent upon a set of statistics presented to them by authorities in the financial field for their feeling of prosperity. I am giving you these pulse beats because each is indicative of circulation. The stock market is dependent upon buying and selling. It is a circulatory thing, just as the pulse beat of your own body is dependent upon the beating of your heart, the circulatory system, and the moving of the blood throughout your body. All life is circulation. When I begin to fear lack, and that is often happens, when I begin to fear lack, and that often happens, I immediately begin to work on my own consciousness, not with the question of how can I make more money, but with the question, what do I need to do to have money circulating in my world? For prosperity is the circulation of money in my world. It is movement, it is activity, it is flow. I have often defined prosperity as being the state wherein I am always able to do what I want to do at the instant of time that I want to do it. In other words, if all the people attending a metaphysical lecture had sufficient money in their pockets to place a generous contribution in the offering plate, and they had sufficient money in their pockets to have transportation home, then at that instant they would be prosperous, despite what their bank account revealed, because they would have what they needed to have to do the thing that they wanted to do and the instant in which they wanted to do it. The older theologies have been telling us for as long as any of us can remember that money is a dangerous thing, that money is an evil thing, and that money is a sinful thing. In metaphysics, we do not believe that, but there are countless good people who believe it. And I look at them in amazement, for while they believe that money is the root of all evil, which isn't what Jesus said, they are forever bothering their employers for a raise. If you believe that money is evil, then why work for it? Why use it? Merely go and live with some kind relatives, and you won't need to bother about it. Money is a vital part of the necessary circulatory system of this age. As it is a necessity for the economic health of all of us, it must be a spiritual idea. The moment you shift your attention from the concept that money is evil to the belief that money is wonderful, you will begin to have a greater circulation of money in your life. Anything we love increases, and anything we criticize moves out of our lives. The first step toward abundance is to love money. Why? Because it is the means which God is using at the present instant to maintain a circulation in your world of economics. But it must be a circulation. Therefore, watch out before damming it up, hemming it in, or putting a fence around it, because the joker is still in that deck of cards. If you die one of these days, your relatives have a free-for-all with it. That is a joker for people who hoard money. Circulation is necessary to my body if I am to keep on living. Circulation is necessary in the general field of economics if we are able to have a healthy financial structure in this nation and in this world. Therefore, I can assume that circulation is necessary in my own bank account, in my own pocketbook, and more than that, in my mental attitude about money. I must believe that I am in a universe which is self-sustaining. I am in a universe which is self-sustaining. If I am in a universe which is self-sustaining, then I must be part of it. And the creative process which causes the universe to be self-sustaining must likewise be in my affairs and cause my affairs to be self-sustaining. The universe is saying to the mind of man that if he will be wise in his use of money, if he will be receptive to the idea of money, he will have money. For no good thing is withheld from those who love God, and money is good. But you have to believe that money is good. So, correct your thought about money. Next, we must be willing to live in a state of financial flux. We must be willing to live in a state of financial flexibility and meet it without fear. If we can do that, we will have more money. If only there were doctors of money, as there are doctors of bodies and doctors of the mind, for we need to be reminded often that we must be flexible in money matters. When the barometer on our bank account goes down, it is merely an indication that it will go up again if we remain open to the idea of money. You must sell yourself on money as a spiritual idea until it becomes an automatic subconscious pattern with you. You will find that people who have the greatest freedom in money are the people who no longer have to think about money. They have arrived at a subconscious conviction that they will always have it, and they always do have money because they are subjectively convinced of the fact. The people who have trouble in regard to money have not yet convinced themselves that they can live in this world and have the freedom and use of money. I do not mean millions of dollars. I mean enough to live more than comfortably. You are going to say, but doesn't money come from work? The answer is no. There are business executives who work only 2 hours a day or one day a week and take a 6 weeks vacation whenever they desire, and yet they receive their enormous salaries from work. They receive their money because they are considered to be worth that much money. And the reason they are considered to be worth this much is that they are convinced themselves that they are worth it. When you are convinced that you are worth more money, walk Walk up to your employer and say you want a raise, and you will receive it. But you will never get a raise if you merely want a raise but are not convinced that you are doing a better job than you did a year ago, that you are willing to watch the time clock less, and that you are willing to be more active on the job. You will get your raise only when you are convinced in your own subconscious that you are worth it. We must first convince our minds that that is probably why every time that people came to Jesus and needed his help, he asked them, "Do you believe?" If they said yes, he said, "All right, it is done." Why? Because they had arrived at a point of self conviction, and it was their own self conviction which made the demonstration. Jesus could feed 5,000 people because he was convinced he could feed 5,000 people. He knew he could do it, so he did it. You don't know that you can do it, so you had better not try to do it. And don't infer that the scriptural story of the feeding of 5,000 is allegorical, or that it is a myth, for you won't know that until you have arrived at the same point of subconscious conviction which Jesus had realized. Money is a subjective conviction on the part of the individual. Accept the idea of money and say, "All right, it is God's idea of circulation." That is our definition. Money is God's idea of circulation. I now subjectively accept the idea of money. I accept this divine idea without limitation. I do not think of money in terms of any set amount. I think of it in terms of plenty to maintain me in ease and freedom of action. The reason that I suggest that you don't treat in terms of amounts is that wealth is a relative thing. And one fact about the universal mind is that it always gives plenty and to spare. I am weary of having just enough to meet my current bills. I want a little more to spare. All right. That is the way the universal supply works. The universal intelligence works under a law of abundance without a secondary law of limitation. But most individuals attempt to work under a law of abundance with an unconscious pattern of limitation. So they do not have results. On the surface, they say that they desire plenty of money, but their subconscious pattern is $60 a week. As the subjective pattern has more power than the temporary conscious mind desire, they demonstrate $60 a week, while they could be demonstrating as much more as God wanted them to have. The universe takes us at our valuation, and each one of us needs to increase the consciousness of our own valuation in money. As we do this, money starts to appear in our experience. All spiritual treatment is an action of the conscious on the subconscious. Treat this way. Money is God's idea of circulation. This idea I accept. This idea I now accept as the basis of all my financial affairs. I like money. I believe that it is God's activity, that it is good. I use it with wisdom. I release it with joy. I send it forth without fear. Send it forth without fear, for I know that under a divine law it comes back to me increased and multiplied. If you will use this treatment and subjectively accept it, you will be amazed at the results. Money is a spiritual activity. It is good. It is wonderful, and we should love it. It is not filthy lucre. It is not sinful. It is not the devil's playmate. It is God in action. The stock market is a financial barometer. We do not condemn it. We do not criticize it. Neither do we bless it. We merely leave it alone. We use it as an orderly part of our business world. We do not worry about the value of dollars because whether values go up or down, we who are convinced within ourselves that we are worth plenty of money will always have it. We will always have money because the law of prosperity is based on the perpetual circulation of God's ideas of the infinite mind. This great circulation of thought is pouring into our consciousness and appearing in our world as cash on hand. This process goes on eternally, despite the value of a dollar or the value of a pound sterling. But the people who believe that their money is dependent upon the stock market, or believe that their money is dependent upon valuation, or believe that their money is dependent upon hours of work, those people are living under the bondage of limitation, and they do not demonstrate money. They demonstrate more worry, more watching, more fear, because that is where they have placed their attention. That is where they are setting up cause. So they reap a similar effect because cause and effect are one. If I devote my entire thinking, which is the creative power of my world, to worry about money, then the effect must be like unto the cause, and I only have more worry about less money. That is completely logical as well as completely true. Therefore, it is necessary to take my attention from money as a necessity of life and think of it as a God given idea for life as a necessary part of the normal circulatory system of the present age. Say to yourself, isn't money wonderful? I'm going to release it with joy. I refuse to worry, for there is plenty more money for me. I want to close this booklet with a specific mental treatment for money. I want you to be clear on this one idea. I am not giving you a treatment to increase your salary. I am treating for money. After you read and declare audibly this treatment for money, you must be willing to take it when it comes. If someone stops you on the street and invites you to a fine restaurant, go. Let your money come from any direction. I have known people who have came to our practitioners' offices for a money treatment. And after the treatment was given, they would go out and mingle with a group of friends. I would hear a friend say to one of them, "May I take you to lunch?" And he would say, "Oh no, I couldn't accept." Then why should he take a practitioner's time to treat him for money? If someone says to you, "I want to give you something," and it is at all usable, take it. If it isn't usable, take it anyway and give it to someone else, because that is the way bridge prizes circulate. Remember that if money is God in action, if it is a spiritual idea in your life, then you should welcome with joy anything resembling it. Be a little enthusiastic about money. Don't criticize anyone who has it. If you believe that someone down the street is getting money dishonestly, what of it? They are working under the law of their own negative mind and they will be stopped. Don't worry about it. It is none of your business, and don't criticize them. Think of money as being God in action. And whenever you see large amounts of money, say to yourself, "Isn't that wonderful?" This human mind of ours has its tricks of limitations and it gives itself away every time. If I treat myself for prosperity and go out and criticize someone else because he has plenty of money, it doesn't make sense, does it? The mental work I have done is rendered ineffective because my own criticism of money has erased its value. You are going to like money because it is God in action. You are going to use it with wisdom, release it in joy, and know it will return to you increased. Say to yourself, "Wait a moment. I always have had enough money to meet my needs, and the infinite spirit is not going to stop my income at this point. There is no blockage in this universal system. The universe is always in a state of flux. If there is a block in the flow of money in my life, it must be a temporary human block which I have within my own consciousness. I now break that block. I accept money, appreciate money, use money, and shall never again be afraid of money. Both riches and honor come of thee, and thou rulest over all, and in thy hand is power and might, and in thy hand it is to make great, and to give strength unto all. Chronicles 29:12. Treatment for money. I now subconsciously accept this treatment. There is only one creative cause, God. There is only one mind, God. There is only one life, God. There is only one substance, God. This present universe is the glory of God. It is a moving, flexible, fluidic creation. It is alive with the life, the abundance, and the richness of God. I abide in prosperity. Mind created me in order that it might act through me. Therefore, I am receptive to its abundance. I am receptive to its circulation in my life, in the form of money. Money is God's idea of circulation in my world of finance. I accept this idea completely. I appreciate this idea. I like it. Money being God in action is absolute good. It is wholesome. It is a blessing to man, and I am now prospered with it. I have no fear of lack, for I believe that I have plenty of money. It is God's activity in my world. It is God's activity in my bank account. It is God's activity in my investments. It is God's activity in everything to which I lay my hands. This money is flowing. This money is free. I do not attempt to lock it up. I do not put a fence around it. It is God's money. I let it flow in. I let it flow out. As I release it, I know that it comes back to me, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. I am now free in money. I rejoice in it. I appreciate it, and I thank God for it. I have money forevermore. Amen. Thank you for joining me on this audio recording of Money is God in Action. I created it for myself because I was reading it for 30 days straight and then realized that I wanted to continue the practice, but also wanted to be able to time hack. So now I listen to this recording while I am walking, just so I can free up extra time in my day to do other things. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have the most amazing day, and I hope that you would join me on this 30 days or more of reading or listening to this book. And comment below and let me know your biggest takeaways once you've completed your 30 days. See you next time. Bye.